This lesson is about the changes in the inner city that have happened for our location is Glasgow. For this has happened in quite a few cities like towns of Edinburgh and Dundee and Aberdeen over the years as well. And really, as we said, recent changes are around about the last kind of 30 years or so, although for historical context, we can't get away from the problems that happened before that. So that is one of the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at the historical context. We're going to look at the kind of quick fixes that they maybe put in like the 70s and 80s, and then what they're doing now. So, historical problems of Glasgow as inner city. This is a lovely picture of the Govan shipyards. This is all of their houses here. So all of these blocks are the tenement blocks that we've been hearing so much about. So that's where all these people live. And there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people live in these places. In fact, this one here is a prime example of this. So that gap in the middle is that gap here. And then you can see what they were like, that obviously we've highlighted to these before and how bad they were, that you literally have loads of people living in here. This at one point would have been like shared toilets or shared bathrooms or kind of shared outhouses, depending on the particular tenements, because not all these tenements had running water. They didn't all have their own bathroom. They didn't all have their own toilet. They had to share a lot of these. And this would also, you can see here, this would be the washing lines where they do their washing. So they can hang stuff up here to do their washing. And this would also be the play park, so where kids would come out and play and kick a ball about. So really you've got this, and this is it. I mean, even if you see on here, if I take out some of these annotations, that there's no spaces to play on this. There's literally, this is it. And what you had then, beside all these houses, you had factories as well. Let's make this a bit bigger, make it more visible. So factories with a tower and big factories, like all these shipyards all had towers and they had smoke belching out of them. So this smoke basically went everywhere, just like that. And made the inner city really a bit of a horrible place to live. But why people lived here is because literally there was jobs and you get paid fairly well. You get paid okay to be like a shipbuilder. Billy Connolly, that's what his job was before he became a comedian. That he was a welder on the ships. So you didn't get paid great, but it was a life, and it was better than you were getting anywhere else. So a lot of people moved in here and then worked in the shipbuilding. Problem being that this didn't last, that slowly these shipyards started to close down and disappear. And when you did that, you were left with all these people who did not have a job. So when you had all these people that didn't have a job, you ended up with this thing called the vicious cycle. So people became unemployed. And I'm going to shorten this down from what was in the lesson, just to keep in. So if they're unemployed, there's no money. And people then turned, what happened in inner cities, and this was not a massive amount of people, but only a small amount. You get bored, you've got no money, so what do? You turn to petty crime. That's like vandalism, like gang and breaking stuff. You also tend to get involved with alcohol a lot more. Oh, that's not how you spell alcohol. And drugs as well. So this is where a lot of the inner city problems started to arise. And there was alcohol problems, there was drug problems, people get involved in petty crime. And from here, would that have meant anyone invested? Not really. So no investment. And then when there's no investment, there's no shops, and there's no shops, there's no like then employment. And if there's no investment in schools either. So you tended to have a poor education. And then if you didn't have a good education, you tended to become unemployed as well. So, or not get a job afterwards. So this is a vicious cycle. It's also known as a poverty trap. So if you aren't in a place where you're getting a good education, you can't get employed. If you can't get employed, you can't have any money, and then you can get involved in this cycle that kind of goes round and round. I would like to add that sometimes it just goes from this to this, without the petty crime and stuff. Not everyone's that bad, but so that was the problem. And initially, when they tried to fix it, they tried to fix it by simply thinking, well, these houses are the problem. These disgusting, out-of-date houses were the issue for people. So we'll build them nice new ones. These flats. And you can actually see this. This is Red Road in Glasgow. These are the ones that were quite famously demolished for the start of the Commonwealth Games. And one of them didn't quite fall down. But you've effectively got, like, that would be a flat in there, and that would be a second one. And you'd have ones on the other side as well. So on this top level, you're looking at, like, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 12 flats on the top level. And then every single level would have their own flat. So you're talking thousands of people put into these houses. And they were put up quickly. They were also really high. So they were not very well built. Children would then have to play up here. So this is leading on, and here's like a interesting photo of someone overframed the photo into where it currently is. So kids wouldn't have any place to play. They'd be playing up here, and this is very high. Also, they never solved the problems. So you would still end up with people not employed. You'd still end up with people not having a job, being bored, and still get involved in things like this. This isn't from Glasgow. I couldn't actually find any photos from like the 70s and 80s, but this is a kind of prime example of suddenly you've got lifts which take all these people up that look like that. Are you going to take them? No, you're not. So you take the stairs. And then you take the stairs all the way up to the top. So this is where that song that I put in, I don't know if anyone listened to it, the Jelly Piece song, because kids that were playing down here, there was no way they were going to go all the way up the stairs to get their lunch to just come all the way back down again. So the joke was that their mum would make a piece of a jam sandwich and then just lob it out the window and hope that it would eventually get down to the kids playing, and that would be their lunch. Don't know if that ever actually happened. Wonder if it did. So they didn't work. They were poorly made. They didn't deal with the problem, and eventually they too were then scrapped, and most of them are now gone. So what have they done now is they've built these lovely houses. This, I think, is a big conversion. So this is all flats here as well. But this is like kind of flat here, flat here, flat here. So you don't have as many, but these are like lovely, modernized, like 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom flats with a wee bit of garden outside, with a bit of greenery to play on. And these go for the region of around about £200,000 plus now, because they are definitely like modernized and they're very attractive to people. That they're the epitome of inner city living now, because not only did they do this, they also encouraged like really nice restaurants to come in. So this is where our dinky term comes in, which is our dual income, no kids yet. So these are like young professionals who have got lots of money. So there's like a couple, they both work full time, they have a lot of money and they don't really have anything to spend it on. So they then go out for meals, they go out for dinner all the time. They go out and buy fancy products from the local store. They go to the cinema a lot because it's around the corner. They go bowling a lot because it's around the corner. So then they've got all these things to encourage them to have this like really nice lifestyle where they just walk into the pub, they can walk into a restaurant, they can go to the cinema, they can go bowling, all within walking distance. The other thing that this helped, because it wasn't like they just encouraged lots of wealthy young professionals in, by opening places like this, like our restaurants, like our Hollywood Bowl, like our cinema, is it the next one? They actually created low skilled employment. So these people that previously worked in manufacture in terms of building ships, who couldn't get jobs, could now suddenly get jobs, because you didn't need a lot of skills to work at a cinema. You didn't need a lot of skills to work at the Hollywood Bowl, where you kind of give out shoes. You didn't need a lot of skills to be a cleaner in a hotel. It also meant that school children, so young people, had easy access to a job. So young people had easy access to work. This meant that they could start getting themselves out of the poverty trap, even though their parents maybe wouldn't be able to help. And the one other thing they then added in, along with these bowling, the cinema, the hotel here as well, there's an Ibis, is they encouraged places like this to open up. Now this is Glasgow Nautical College, where that offered people another way out, and they trained people to either operate ships, or build, not build, like engineers. And actually, you didn't need a lot of historical skills for this. It was very like basic ones, and then they give you all the training. So you could go and be a captain of a cruise ship from this one, or a deck officer in cruise ships, or even designing a cruise ship, or operating an engine of a cruise ship. So there was then local education where people could access it, that they could then go and earn lots of money. Bizarrely, as a complete aside, I applied to do this, almost went and did it before I changed my mind. And you get paid a lot of money to be a cruise ship captain. I just didn't like being away for like 6 months at a time. That was like an alternative. So, and they also opened the Premier Inn, which we've maybe looked at before, to offer low skilled work. So this also meant that the hotels, the things brought in more money as well. So they then convinced more people to come in for like the restaurants, and these people then could like go to restaurants and go to the shops. So there was a whole approach. It wasn't like one thing, we'll just fix the houses. They offered new employment. They offered like new incentives for people to be here. They offered a better lifestyle. Look, you can come here, you can bring your dog down, you can sit outside and have a nice meal, then go to the cinema before you walk home, all within walking distance. So with all these changes, they started making it a lot nicer. And this is what is called gentrification. So they gentrified the inner city, which meant they were solving a lot of these historic problems. So that was the changes we've had to the inner city.